Hey, Robert. Hey, Kenneth.
Hey, I'm about to call you right
Okay,
now.
no worries. I just wanted to make sure
All right.
everything was all right. Didn't know if you gotten ill.
I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, hon.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. How you doing today? I'm so glad that you are here. Miss Jewel? Excuse me, Jewel.
Yes, Miss Jackson.
Yes, I'm Miss Jackson. You are Jewel.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being patient with me this morning.
Honey, it's all right. Just don't even go through all that. Just get through. Let's just keep on going. How about that?
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna call the pastor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
morning we have Pastor Brooks on.
Pastor Brooks, how are you?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
All right.
Pastor Brooks.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning, top of the morning to you, top of the morning to you.
We're good. Audio
Okay.
sounds great to you guys.
Okay, perfect. That's wonderful.
We have about a minute and a half.
Okay, fantastic. Let the words of our mouths and meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight. Oh Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Thank you for being with us today, Pastor Brooks.
Amen. I'm in Houston, Texas with Dasha.
Oh, how is she doing?
Awesome.
And how's your wife doing?
She's amazing. She's out here too.
Now I know that. I know she misses her baby, the perfect combination of her parents. It's unbelievable. She looks like her, then she'll look like you and her. Then she'll look like you. Oh yeah, I mean it's like, but you all are a beautiful family. I mean, just inside and out. And I'm so happy for you, Darius. So happy for you. No, it just shows if you are faithful, God will work it out. Do your part. Now that's a sermon you got to give one day. Do your part.
All right. Bye, everybody.
All right, everybody, coming up.
Wonderful show.
And that is my board operator telling you all that you have a wonderful show. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thursday, February 9th, the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and YouTube, the Santita Jackson Show, and the Santita Jackson and Friends page, and I've shared it around. And I want you to meet my morning stars, Robert and Kenneth and Jewel and Daryl and Paula and Laura and Miss Robinson and Daphne and so many, and Barbara Bacon and Madeline. And how you doing, everybody? Sending you all so much love today. Dave, how you doing? And Daryl again. All right. I love you all. Meet them over there because they have some wonderful conversations. Today, we're talking about child labor laws, specifically what's happening in Iowa. If the Republicans have their way, children as young as 14 and a half would be able to drive themselves to work, and they'd be able to work in some very dangerous conditions with some exemptions. They don't want them to work in dangerous conditions, but there can be exemptions. They could be working in meat packing plants and on, where you can lose your limbs. These are children, 14. When will America learn? Stop trying to get something for nothing. Oh my gosh, the land, slavery, it just doesn't stop. We're going to be talking about that because that's about to happen right now. And we've got to talk about child labor. And of course, we'll have Dr. Max Wolf, who wants to talk about the State of the Union and the economy and its impact upon you, healthcare particularly, and wages. Can't wait to speak with him. But we're going to have a wonderful panel to talk about child labor, the roots of it, and what's happening up in Iowa. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Let's talk today. Of course, Dr. Shanina Knighton and the magnificent Pastor Darius Brooks will be giving us the good news in just a couple of minutes. And of course, joined by my board operator, we're going to get right to it. Thursday, February 9th. Wow, what's going on in Chicago? It's strange. Rain and snow today, 43 degrees. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 35 degrees. Cloudy. In the NBA, big trades. Durant is out of Brooklyn, as is Kyrie Irving. What does it mean? Durant is going out there to Arizona. They say he might win another championship. So we'll see how this all works out. And Kyrie's returned to the floor triumphant. But in the meantime, the Timberwolves 143. Whew, the Jazz 118. The Bulls will be playing the Nets tonight. In the NHL, Chicago's team had the night off, but the Stars were triumphant over the Wild, 4-1. Of course, it is Super Bowl Sunday. Who do you have? Who you got? Do you have Kansas City? Do you have Philly? You all can call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and you can let me know. The death toll from the magnitude 7.8 earthquake in Syria and Turkey is now at least, get this everybody, 16,000 souls. Wow. It's an increase of more than 5,000 people in just one day, according to authorities. Crews are still sifting through the rubble as thousands of workers, volunteers, and companies attempted to deliver much needed aid to that region. And think about it, in a region where they do have earthquakes. Earthquakes occur all over the world. Many people in Turkey are very upset because they said Turkey was not prepared. Turkey's earthquake fund had, get this, according to a report on MSNBC, just $5 in the fund. God bless the people of Turkey and Syria. Reach out to your Red Cross and to other aid agencies, because they need all of us all around the world. They are our brothers and sisters, everybody. The Biden administration will soon release a roadmap to transition the United States out of the COVID-19 public health emergency, according to sources. The goal of the expected roadmap, one source said, is to try to lay out for the public in a clear way what the end of the declaration does and does not mean. We're going to ask, of course, Dr. Shanita Knighton about that and how we can continue to protect ourselves against COVID, the flu, RSV, the tridemic, as they're calling it. So we got a lot to talk about today. In Ukraine, Russia has potentially lost up to half of its operational tank fleet since the start of the Ukraine war, or about 1,500 tanks, according to information collected by Oryx, a monitoring group that has been collecting visual evidence of military equipment losses in Ukraine since Russia's invasion began. Tanks have been a major focus of the conflict and are seen as key for either country to take territory on the battlefield. The day before the suspected Chinese spy balloon entered U.S. airspace over Alaska, the Defense Intelligence Agency quietly sent an internal report that a foreign object was headed towards U.S. territory, officials told CNN. The report was shared through classified channels accessible across the U.S. government, but it was not flagged as an urgent warning, and top defense and intelligence officials who saw it were not immediately alarmed by it, according to sources, instead of treating it as an immediate threat. The U.S. moved to investigate the object, seeing it as an opportunity to observe and collect intelligence. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. But we've got Pastor Darius Brooks, of course, of Grace Central Church in Westchester, Illinois. Before you give us the good news, you know, every week I ask you about all of these people that you are feeding. Please let us know how we can get these meals ourselves, because as you shared with us, people in luxury automobiles are lining up. People are struggling out here. People who 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck if they have one. And half of Americans who make $100,000 a year or more are struggling, living from paycheck to paycheck. It's tight out here. It's really tight. Most Americans who work a waged job cannot afford to rent in the cities in which they work. It's tough out here. So, and he is meeting those needs, but I want to know specifically when we can get this food. And then after that, go right into the good news. Pastor Darius Brooks.
Good morning, Santita. 10216 South Kitchen Street, Westchester. Later on, it's Grace Central Church Tuesday, and Tuesday at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And at the Wednesday, to again, that's Grace.
Oh, wait a minute. Pastor Brooks, are you on an earpiece? If
I am.
Okay, if you could, that's kind of distorting the sound a bit, and I want people to hear everything that you say, everything. So if you could.
Okay, is that better?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely. So start again. How can we get this? How can we, and when are you serving this food and passing out these groceries?
Okay, every Tuesday at Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchen Street, Westchester, Illinois, is for the public. And then Wednesdays, we do for the seniors from 12 noon to 2. That's Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchen Street in Westchester, Illinois. It's right off of 290 and Manhattan every Tuesday from 5 to 7. So, we ain't going to stop. We're going to keep doing it because this is one of the reasons we keep doing it. Genesis 13, 17 to 18. Genesis 13, 17 to 18. Go walk through the length and the breadth of the land. Pay attention, for I am giving it to you. So Abram went to live near great trees of Mamre at Hamlet, where he pitched his tent there, where he built an altar unto the Lord. Since you never had to use a thought for today, it's needed at the altar. We must be able to recognize when we're seeing things or dealing with things that could possibly slow us down or hold us back. And the first person is because we have to pay attention to ourselves because they're our choices. First step is the shift of excuses. We're incredible people. We're incredible the way God created you to be by His word, not by us, by our fingernails and hair and nails. And it's a step. Think of creative ways to fulfill this mission. It's needed at the altar. We begin to boost first by allowing what's not healthy for you to be a part of your journey and choices, as well by people who know your self-interest. And if you give in to what seduces you, self-interest, you'll always end up with undesirable results. Whatever you're doing or deserving or desiring to have, you want it to begin at the altar. You want to make sure every direction that you go to, you take it to the altar. The altar is a place of prayer. Oftentimes when you go through hurtful experiences and throughout everything you deal with, it's tough. Because it feels nice to have someone you can trust and confide in. When you know, I was listening to you talk about Turkey, how people like there's no hope. You have to have something or someone to believe in. If you don't, there is no hope. More often than not, it's hard to trust someone. Often we feel like we're alone and we can't put nothing in front of nobody. And it's true, everybody you cannot talk to, Santita. But God is telling you to pay attention to everywhere. Pay attention to everybody. Pay attention to you. Pay attention to yourself because He will put you in the right place at the right time to position you with the right kind of people. Santita, I want to close with this. There was 2 wolves in the old Cherokee told his grandson. There was 2 wolves in the old Cherokee told his grandson, my son, there's a battle between 2 wolves inside of all of us. One is evil. It is anger, jealousy, greed, resentment, inferiority, lies, and ego. The other is a good joy, peace, love, human, kindness, empathy, and truth. The boy thought about it and asked his father, Granddaddy, which wolf wins? And the grandfather said, son, the one you feed. Whatever you're going through that's making you feel like you cannot make this. Trust me when I tell you, I'm 60 years old, April 30th. I've been through a lot in my life. What has gotten me through is taking everything that I deal with to the altar. When you take it to the altar, you let that go and let God be God. The day you were born and the day you die is a dash. The day before you were born, God had everything in control. And the day you died today. You still got everything scripted. Our responsibility in this dash is to take everything to the altar. It's needed at the altar.
I love that. I love that. Leave it there. What do they say? Take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. Ooh, I oftentimes take them back, and then that's when you're crunchy. So then you know something's wrong if your disposition is bad, even if it's only in your head. So, so everybody, hello to Antho from the Frenchman. I'm sending you much love. I love France. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love you, Pastor Darius Brooks. I love it. Are you on tour very quickly with the Tommies?
We are, and Dr. I don't know how you know that, but absolutely I'm doing radio interviews down here in Houston as we speak. And then starting March, we'll be in Florida, we'll be in St. Louis, New York. God is really blessing this new CD is dropping, and we'll be completed by the end of March. We are excited.
And I can't wait until you come to Chicago, Michigan, Ohio, somewhere in this region so we can all get out there. But of course, always let us know, because you know we have people from all over the country who are listening to the show and who want to get out and be with the Tommies. If you want to really, really have a wonderful worship experience, get there with Pastor Darius Brooks and the Tommies. Sending you so much love. I love you, Darius Brooks. And I love Dasha, and I love First Lady Deborah. Give them my love. Give them my love. You know, we've got Dr. Shanita Knighton here. I want to talk with her. My question is about I need to know about the end of the pandemic. You know, because I just read a story that the Biden administration will soon release a roadmap to transition the U.S. out of the COVID-19 public health emergency. What can we do to transition ourselves, specifically to prevent infection? I mean, because, you know, we've had to be retrained, and it's something that, because we're grown people, you have to let people know every day, remind people every day of the things that we need to do as we officially transition out of a pandemic while we're still in it. Dr. Knighton, what can we do to protect ourselves as we're transitioning out of at least the official response to the pandemic, although it's still out here?
Good morning, Santita. And to your case in point, it is still out here. Prime example is I actually got a notice from my kids' school that they were having more than usual cases than what they had anticipated. And as we know, flu season typically peaks somewhere between December and March. And so because they are seeing an uptick in those numbers, they have gone back to implementing masks in school, whereas before it was mask optional. So the concern is the release of this plan this early did makes people think that we're ending it right now. And it's the semantics of it, right? If you know that it's getting ready to end, you may end something too early. And my concern is that we are still in the peak of flu season for this plan to be released like right now. And again, as I always say, these disclaimers and opinions are on behalf of Dr. Shanita Knighton and not any organization. But that is my concern in regards to how people think. Something else to consider as well is when you think about where we are right now. Before H1N1, we were on a trend of about every 10 to 30 years for us to experience a pandemic. There was 9 years in between the time that H1N1 happened and SARS-CoV-2 happened. And so with that 9 years, of also understanding that there is environmental changes that can ensue, we want to make sure that we stay ready so we don't have to get ready. Anytime that we've heard about Marburg disease, when we've heard about the resurgence of polio in New York, when we've heard about the resurgence of Ebola in certain areas, when we hear about Candida auris amongst older adults, which has, 30 to 50% fatality. When you hear these things and you understand how dangerous they are, it is recognizing that at any point in time, any of these things can break out. It can occur to where it becomes a breakout. And breakout then becomes an epidemic, which is in one country, and then a pandemic because it's spanning across multiple countries. And so with that, as we are transitioning out, think through what are the preventative measures that you've been taking that may have contributed to you being sick less, and say, how do I incorporate this into my daily living? And right now, unfortunately, when people think something is over, you hope that they have learned something. You hope that they take something within their toolbox. And I'm just reminding people that cell phones are still your third hand. They are very dirty. So it's important to make sure that you're cleaning them. It's important to make sure that you are cleaning your hands. And it's important to make sure that you are conscious about the company that you keep. Meaning now, people have learned that if someone comes to dinner and say, oh, I'm sneezing, it's just allergies, or I got cold, they know that they should be looking more into it. So I'm hoping that as we transition out, people have learned these lessons.
Everybody, we're still in the pandemic, although the government officially is ending the public emergency, but it is still of urgency in your life. Please take care of yourselves. Go to Hey Dr. Nina. Hey Dr. Nina. That is her social media handle. You will get so much great information. You'll see a video on how to wash your hands. Yeah, this is the way we wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands. You need to see it, really. And so many helpful hints, a lot of little things that we don't even think about because we're not conscious of them, you know? So think about that, everybody. I want you to know that we love you, Dr. Nina, Dr. Shanina, and we appreciate you and respect you so much. I've gotten so much wonderful feedback, and I love what you put out there about the second anniversary of your being part of the Santita Jackson Show family. Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Well, for better or for worse, honey, you're ours and we're yours. We love you. But you know what? There's something that's very disturbing. We're going to be talking about child labor. The Republicans are trying to pass a law that will put 14-year-old children in harm's way. Yeah, put them in dangerous jobs, have them at 14 and a half driving themselves to work because of a labor shortage. Are you serious? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Girl, it's the craziest thing ever. I mean, hold on. You know, board operator?
Yes.
I'm going to send you an extra number, Attorney Hoffler.
Okay, and when is she coming on?
Can she come on now?
Yes, we should be fine, but we'll have to drop Dr. Knighton then.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, Dr. Knighton.
You know what? We have a shortage of lines, Dr. Knighton, but I hate that because you know what? But we have to do. But what I want you to do, I'm going to send you some information because this child, you just need to read the story. That's all I can tell you. You just need to read it. You just really need to read it. You really, really do. When you see it, you're going to go, oh my, no, I'm serious. When you see it, you're going to go, are you serious? They're going to put these kids to work. I mean, it's like we never learn. We keep trying to get something for nothing. You know, yeah. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, you know, that's what happened to us with slavery. You know, people work. It wasn't for free. You didn't pay me. This was not your land. You didn't buy it from the indigenous people. You just didn't pay them. I mean, my goodness. And now you got mainly Hispanic kids who they're going to put, I mean, just this is horrible. And then they want a child to drive themselves to work. A child. 14 and a half? A what? Disgusting. These people are disgusting. It's disgusting. Well, Joyce says, congratulations, Dr. Knighton. Thank you for your service. People love you. Jewel loves you. Oh, yeah. They love you. Happy anniversary, that Robert. Oh, and people are upset about their typos. Don't worry about it, honey. They for years couldn't get my name right. Okay. And okay. Kooky spellings. I was like, you know, you act like there's only one Santita in the world. Now people's parents would see my name in Ebony or Jet, and then I've met a whole like several Santitas who are a generation behind me because their parents saw my name and said, "Oh, I like that name," and there you go. I think her Santita Gray down in Alabama. I met her. She said, oh, no. My parents named it. They took your name. I said, oh, okay. Bless your heart. Said, my godmother gave it to me. I was rent money for my parents, girl. My parents had no money. They were staying with the Halseys and when they were in school. That's when I was born, when they were in college. And Mrs. Halsey said, if it's a girl, could I help name her? And my mother and father were like, sure. We're staying in your house. You letting us stay here. I'm rent money, girl. My name. But praise the Lord. But I love you, Dr. Knighton.
I love you too.
Okay, I am going to call you, and let me see now. Okay, I am going to do. I think. Well, I'll tell you. I'm not going to make an announcement. I'm going to do something, and I think it will be fun, darling. Okay. It might have me some fun.
We have about 25 seconds here. We have Miss Wells, we have Attorney Connolly, and we have Dwight McKee.
Okay.
And we'll need to drop Dr. Knighton. And after Miss Wells' live read, I will get the other two guests on.
And we'll be able to we'll have to let Miss Wells go. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We're limited.
All right.
All right, here we go.
Thank you, board operator.
Of course. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about what some critics are calling the reprehensible Iowa bill to expand child labor because of a labor shortage in Iowa. Yeah, so instead of going to other states and finding grown people who are looking for work, they're going to look for children as young as 14 and put them in some jobs that could be quite hazardous. That would put them in harm's way. They could lose limbs. They could lose their lives. They are even going to promote, to go along with this bill, children as young as 14 and a half years of age driving by themselves so they can get to work and make money for these corporations. Shame on them. We're going to be talking about that very, very shortly. But first up, Chaparral Celebrations by Us is having a big event, and she needs your support. It's a scholarship fund in memory of her son. Talk to us. When is it, Chaparral, and where is it?
Yes, Santita, thank you so much. We are having our annual gala at the JLM Community Center, March 3rd, 2023 at 7 p.m. So we're asking everyone to come out and support this great cause. All of the money raised will be going for our scholarship fund for the Courtney Copeland Memorial Foundation. Each year we give out scholarships to needy kids who actually need the help in getting to college. And we started this fund basically because one of the things that Courtney couldn't do was go to college because he didn't have enough money to attend college. So we started this in his honor to help other kids who may need some additional assistance in getting to college and completing college. So it's open. We start opening the applications in June so that kids can apply. So we're asking everyone to come out and support this gala so that way we can send more kids away to college. And you can visit www.copelandmemorial.com to purchase your ticket, www.copelandmemorial.com. And if you can't attend, please consider donating a ticket to families who have lost a child, because we do honor them as well at the gala. So give us a call at 708-628-7734 or go to www.copelandmemorial.com. Thank you so much, Santita.
And what is the date again and the address?
Yes, it's at the JLM Community Center, and that is 2622 West Jackson, Chicago, Illinois, 60612, and the date is March 3rd, 2023.
All right, all right, all right. Sending you much love, everybody. Chaparral needs that support. And these young people, they gave out 3 wonderful scholarships to a rainbow of children last year. Young people, an African American, Hispanic American, Asian American. They're doing a lot of great work, and we're so grateful for them. Hey, everybody. Critics are slamming a reprehensible Iowa bill to expand child labor, everybody. Some people are calling it crazy, according to the president of the Iowa Federation of Labor, of the AFL-CIO. It's a business-backed bill, everybody, introduced by Republican state lawmakers in Iowa, of course, farming and all of these. You've got factories that take care of our meat, and so much is in Iowa, so much that gives us sustenance comes out of Iowa in this part of the country. They now want to roll back labor laws so that teens as young as 14 years of age could work in previously prohibited jobs, including mining, logging, animal slaughtering. That's right. It is crazy, everybody. According to the Des Moines Register, this proposed law contains an entirely new section that would allow the Iowa Workforce Department and State Department of Education to make exceptions to any of the prohibited jobs for teens 14 to 17. The new Iowa bill would also completely lift the ban on 14 and 15-year-olds working in freezers, meat coolers, and allow kids as young as 14 and a half to drive themselves to work. Other dangerous jobs would have exemptions, but this is dangerous. And this comes amid a lingering labor shortage in Iowa. It expands the hours that these kids would work. It shields businesses from liability if a minor employee is sickened, injured, or killed as a result of the company's negligence. I had to bring this to you because it is crazy, but it's 2023. And this bill could go through. And if it goes through in Iowa, I mean, they're already having a struggle over this in Nebraska. They're struggling over this in the Congo because Tesla and everyone who needs a battery has to go through the Congo because that's where vital minerals that give us the batteries are. And they're using child labor to go mine those minerals. So this is a global problem, but let's look at what's happening here in the United States of America. Iowa, Nebraska, it's happening everywhere. So let's talk about this. We've got Dwight McKee, and we're going to have attorney C.K. Hoffler shortly. We've got Aaron Connolly. We have got to talk with you about this particular issue. We've got attorney Robert Patillo. I was just so stunned when I saw this. But, let me bring you up, attorney Patillo. What do you make of this?
Well, thank you for Santita. This is just another situation where these companies are trying to find ways to cut labor costs, but not have to pay the employees. They still want the same level of production, particularly when it comes to unskilled labor, without having to raise wages to a living wage. We've seen across the country the fight for 15 for the past decade and a half, to the point that it's taken so long to get the $15 an hour. $15 an hour is no longer worth $15 an hour across the country. In reality, the minimum wage is probably closer to $25 an hour. Or as I've suggested since I was in high school, that the minimum wage should be geo-fixed to a particular area and indexed to be 120% of where the poverty line is. And that way you don't have to go through this whole rigmarole of trying to change it every few years. But instead of simply allocating more resources to ensuring you can have a well-trained and survivable labor force, they would rather change the law so that you can bring in child labor because you can pay them less money. And they have expanded this out because normally, in Iowa and in most other states, you can have quote-unquote child labor for things like working fast food, flipping burgers, filling French fry bags, those sorts of things. Doing a paper route, that's appropriate child labor. They want to have these kids now working with guillotine machines, deep freezers, dangerous farm equipment, etc. The reason for this is very clear because they're trying to cut labor costs and they're willing to endanger children in order to do so. It's not just crazy, it's reprehensible. And the idea that somebody would even think of this in 2023 just shows you how defunct our capitalistic system is currently, because they're willing to put corporate profits ahead of the lives of children at a point in time where these are the same people, the same party that will claim to be quote-unquote pro-life. Yeah, you're pro-life, and let's go to some children.
It's unbelievable. Attorney Aaron Connolly, what do you make of this?
Well, I was so heartened to see this come up. I read this terrible story yesterday, and of course, you are talking about it on the Santita Jackson show this morning. And for me, this story is personal. I know that sounds strange to say, but my great-grandmother had to leave school, and she worked in the Westinghouse factory when she was 11 years old. She never got to go back to school. Her family was extremely poor. She wanted to do her part. Her mother was ill, and so she, at that point in time, there were not the same type of regulations that we have now that prohibits this type of behavior, and the corporate entities gladly employed these willing children in dangerous jobs like the factory that she worked in. And I know her experience, which is I don't imagine very different for many of the children in the article that suffered very serious chemical burns in the incident in question, that and with this law, their lives and well-being are put at risk, not only from a developmental perspective of not being in school, being exhausted, being forced to work, but in dangerous places like factories, like these facilities we're talking about where they are working with dangerous chemicals. We don't know the impact on how that affects development in children. And these children are children. They are still growing. They are still developing. Their brains are not fully formed yet. Their bodies are not fully formed yet. And to expose them to these chemicals, to dangerous situations, and to take out any of the duty of care and liability protections that we're expected to have is just mind-boggling in this day and age. Now, furthermore, I think it is important to note that many of the children in question in this incident that was, spurred this on, and then are Spanish speaking. So there is a language barrier from what the majority language is spoken at this corporation in the state of Iowa, and clearly there's an important component to dig into on that front. But we've come a long way since 1938 with regards to protecting our children and making sure that, at least in theory, every child in America is protected and gets the same kind of start, that they're not having to worry about working in a steel mill or cleaning up an animal slaughter facility, that they're actually able to go to school and be children and have a type of life that, their parents really wish for them. It is the reality in America that many kids do have to work. But as you mentioned, and as Robert mentioned, the jobs that we often think about are babysitting or working at fast food, things like that. Opening this up is a dangerous place to start, and it ultimately, as Robert eloquently pointed out, hurts families even more, because you're not paying these children what that labor is actually worth, and so you're abusing them on many different fronts.
This is a horrible thing. Before I get you, Dwight McKee, we grabbed C.K. Hoffler, who files these class action lawsuits and who looks at issues just like these. I mean, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, it just takes me back to slavery. I mean, these are kids who could be as young as 14 and a half, who would, this law would allow them to drive themselves to work. They'd be able to work in mining and logging and animal slaughtering. They could work in freezers and meat coolers, as Robert said, by guillotines. I mean, they could be killed. And this business back bill would absolve the companies of any fault. I mean, this is just unbelievable. I mean, that they could expand their work hours instead of putting these children in school. And as Aaron pointed out, many of them have a language barrier, and many of them they're Americans or they're here. They're here. We offer people citizenship if they offer themselves to be killed. I mean, this is unbelievable to me. This is just unbelievable. CK.
And this is believable. It's referenceable. It's disgusting. It's un-American. It is something that is, and I want to get to the heart of what it really means. Because these children will be in slave labor, let's just call it that, slave labor and slavery, they will be working as employees. If they are injured, and when they are injured, it's not if, it's when they're injured, the companies will be shielded from great liability. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. If they're injured, it will be a workers' compensation case at best. Workers' compensation. So they have some protection, very little, as workers. But what does that mean? Let's suppose a child dies, is on one of these job sites and dies. In a workers' compensation case, a death, a life, an arm, a leg, a finger, a head is worth something. $10,000, $15,000, $1,000, whatever the medical bills are. There are limitations and restrictions on what you can recover. And so by having them as employees in slavery, child labor like this, the companies are shielding themselves from wrongful death action, from injury claims, because all they have to pay would be the minuscule amount of money if these children are injured or die. That is how this is criminal, because not only are they forcing these kids or providing for these kids to be in slave labor, concentration camps, that's what I call them, taking us back to one of, gosh, we have so many dark moments in this country, but then they are shielded from liability because any injury or death will be treated with such minute compensation for the family that is where I believe the criminality, the intentionality comes in, and I predict there will be class actions surrounding this.
This is unbelievable. I mean, what is there anything? I mean, because this is happening in Nebraska. Tesla is being called out because they need to use child labor and everyone who uses a battery has to use child labor they're using child labor in the Congo because you can't get a battery made without vital minerals that have to go in the batteries, and they come out of the Congo. I mean, this is not just a local issue. It's not just a national issue. It's a global issue. We're using children, CK. It's a global issue, but let's look at Iowa and Nebraska. Let's look at what's happening here. This is not supposed to happen in the United States.
Well, this is a global issue. This is an issue of global ramifications. It's just like what happens in China as well in terms of child labor. But focus on what here in the U.S., what can be done, executive orders can be done. Acts of Congress can be done. Mm-hmm. This is a state issue. And states have the right, they have sovereignty, they have the right to be able to implement laws as they see fit. But if they're unconstitutional, or if there's some other reason, violation of the risk, violation of child labor laws, violation of federal statutes, et cetera, litigation can be initiated to challenge these laws, and that's what needs to happen. Class action that we have from those affected parties, that's what needs to happen. So the recourse is going through the legal system, which is a long process, but it can be expedited, and ultimately it should be kicked up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And of course, we know that could be one of the problems as well because of the slanting of the U.S. Supreme Court. They may feel this is completely constitutional, whereas I believe it's unconstitutional.
And Clarence Thomas would write the decision. That's the tragedy. Dwight McKee, what do you make of this? I mean, it's like we never learned. We're on land we didn't pay for, took it from the indigenous people. The country was built by labor that the country didn't pay for. And please don't tell me your family didn't hold slaves. The country was built by people who were enslaved. If you came here, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. Everybody got a piece of slavery. Everybody benefited from it. Next, Dwight McKee, what do you make of this law that could go through?
Well, there's no accident that these are two of the white states in the Union. Is that part of the issue is they will, because of the immigration crises, they want to make sure they lock out grown colored people who could do the work. And so they are reduced to having to use young, mostly white kids to do the work that grown people would need to do and get paid to do. Secondly, TK hit it pretty much on the head. TK did in terms of also indemnifying themselves from any lawsuits because they know that a lot of these kids are going to get hurt and some are going to get maimed, some are going to get killed. It takes you back to the premises that the country is founded upon, which is cheap labor and the cost that Sinclair Lewis in the crowd really fought so hard to reverse. I think we are going right back, to those days if we're not careful. I think some possible options for protest is I think that some of the Democratic governors and Democratic mayors should pass ordinances that any product made by child labor can't be sold in their states. We have to almost go back to the days of apartheid in South Africa, where we put restrictions on many of the products that they made in South Africa under racist policies, that any products made or created from child labor is illegal to be sold or bought in the flavoring states. So there has to be some economic consequences to this violation. The goal of it is to make more profits. And so you have to take the profits out of it in order to resolve it. It can't be done morally because the people who try to introduce the legislation are immoral. And because you have, a very Republican conservative Supreme Court, and in many places like our very conservative, mostly wealthy state legislature, they will probably support the legislation because it creates more money for them. And again, you're dealing with immoral people. And so people of goodwill have to take it upon themselves to deal with the consequences and not buy the products and force these companies out of business.
Dwight, why are you taking this to morality? Why?
Because you're dealing with amoral people. You're dealing with people who don't operate in the context of morality as we understand morality to be. No moral person is going to put a 14-year-old in a mine whose body is not fully enough developed to be able to address all of those issues that come with spending 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours in a coal mine. Who's probably by the time they're going to be 16, they'll run this league. No moral person is going to do that. No moral person is going to put a child at risk around tools that in fact become weapons because they don't have a dexterity or the understanding of how to use them. No moral person is going to have a 14-year-old driving a tractor and putting his life at risk. The actor last week who was driving his snowplow he had to, he broke the 30 bones, was a grown man and almost lost his life because he didn't correctly operate a tractor. So imagine a 14-year-old child trying to do that every day in the snow, in the ice, in the rain. No moral person is going to do that. So this is not can't be dealt with morally because you're not dealing with moral people. It has to be the people who have a moral sense of things have to become the perpetuators in this to advocate for the children.
Amen.
And inside, not by the products that these people make.
Amen. CK, I know you've got to run. I've got a little bit more than a minute. Can you put a bow on? Well, not a bow, but kind of tie things up as you see them. What's next?
Well, what's next is in those states, the citizens have to fight this because if it passes, there will be a national movement to make this the new norm, and that would be a travesty beyond words. This has to be fought. We have to start. We have to keep our eye on this. Child labor is slavery, and the laws could enable this to happen because there would be a workers' compensation case. It's like the Pinto case. They knew that the cars were defective. They did a cost benefit analysis and said, yeah, 1,000 people died, that'll cost us about $100,000 versus $1 million it would cost to change the parts of it with the estate vehicle. That's what they did, putting profits before children, and it becomes a stop.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler, everybody, what do you think about these laws? What do you think about this law? Guess what? It could go through. It could. Think about that and think about what that would mean to America. I mean, the fact that it has now been written and that's being fought for ought to really unsettle you in 2023 in the United States of America. Any place in the world but here. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show. Call me at 773-763-9278. Let's talk about child labor in America, in Iowa today. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show. CK, I couldn't have something like this and not call you, but I know you're running today. Thank you, girl.
Thank you so much. And I will call you other times. As I told them in Toronto, that I will be flying back to Florida tonight. Ooh. And I sent you something yesterday. You got it?
You know what? Let me look right now.
Okay.
Let me look. And what I will do, I need to call you. Okay, I will do that. Did you? Okay. Let me see. So I can download it. How about that?
It's on my Gmail account. I sent it from my Gmail account.
Okay. I'll find it. I will find it. Don't worry about it. I'll find it.
Okay. And I just have to run, but I will call you later to go over the content.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I've got something else to talk to you about. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, girl. You all stay right here. I just thought this was so horrible that I just had to, I had to speak to you all about this. It's so horrible. Okay. You okay? Are you all still there? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
We wouldn't leave you.
Oh no, but remember we're on, what is it called? We are on what is this called? Lord, today. We're on Facebook Live. So everybody wants to hear what you all have to say. Everyone loves the comments in between. How about that? They do. I mean, I guess it feels like gossip. Oh my gosh, it does, it does, it does, but that's all right. So, but I'm not mad at anybody. Oh, I see, I see. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking for something. Okay. So you all keep talking because I am looking for something myself right now. Okay, but well, so what do you think about this? I mean, this is, I think, because you have some pro-business Democrats who would not object to this, y'all. Let's not act like, you know, this is too far afield for any of us, because sadly, that's not true.
No, it's not true, Santita. And I think Dwight's comments about really digging into our humanity when we and others are looking at stories like this. He's absolutely right that through certain lenses of, whether that's people that work at companies or are in elite circles that don't have to consider a world in their reality where their 11 to 14-year-old child would have to go work at a dangerous factory to provide for their family. They see the dollar sign and the profit and the profit margin over, the heart of that little child. And that, as some of my doctor friends say, you can't teach empathy, right? And there's a certain element that we really have to bring to people's attention in order to even alert them to the cruelty of this. And that's a difficult part of stories like this, where you look at it and you say, how do you even consider that this is
Well, I think this is so horrifying. It's so horrifying. Okay. You all keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. I just gotta get a couple of things together. Okay, so I'm good now. Okay. Dave Dowling says, call President Biden once a week. All right, so you can go on and get hired. But this is a moral issue, everybody. And I tell you, just given the space that we come from, the civil rights movement was anchored in the church, and really in religious principles, in Christian principles. And these Christian principles are Christianity is so broad, it includes everybody. That's the beauty of it. And that's what this is about. I mean, this is immoral. It is sickening. And it breaks my heart to think of a 14-and-a-half-year-old who would be given the exemption to drive to work. I just think that is so horrifying. I mean, I think of who I was at 14. I think of, oh my gosh, my brothers, my sister. I mean, oh, wow. I think of that and I'm like, it's not even safe for, I mean, these children could be exploited in these factories. And we know what we deal with as grown people, Aaron, Dwight, and Robert. The harassment, the sexual harassment, and in these same factories. These managers, remember, they placed bets at the height of COVID, at the beginning of COVID, to see who was going to catch COVID and who was going to die. You remember that?
Yeah.
These same people.
Thank you for bringing up the sexual harassment aspect.
Right? Yeah.
That's one thing that I remember about my great-grandmother saying is working at the factory taught her how to deal with unruly men, and it taught her how to swear.
Oh, absolutely.
Those were the only useful things she learned, but she was, had to actually fight people off. We have about 15 seconds.
Okay, and Jewel, I will bring you on. Because I think it's important that people need to understand that, whatever color slavery is, it's wrong. We racialized it in the United States, but this is wrong. Sure, it's wrong. Hey, everybody. Thursday, February 9, 2023, the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, everybody, please join that, and please share this show. The Santita Jackson and Friends page. Share the show. Like and share the show, everybody. Like and share the show. I want to know your thoughts about child labor. Well, we thought it was gone. No. These sweatshops, et cetera, Republicans, and I would say just pro-business politicians, corporations who use politicians in the Democratic and Republican parties are pushing this. It has a Republican face in Iowa, but trust and believe. A lot of folks, if you don't fight it, you're with it. 14-and-a-half-year-olds working in meat at slaughterhouses, working in the freezers. Are you kidding? Making exceptions for 14-and-a-half-year-olds to drive themselves to work. Think of how vulnerable your child is. For heaven's sake, we had scandals of a sexual nature on Capitol Hill. What do you think is going to happen in these factories to these children? Yeah, I'm going right there. Let's stay there. This is awful. It's a horrible idea. It's horrific. So call me at 773-763-9278 and speak with Robert Patillo, Attorney Aaron Connolly, Attorney Robert Patillo, who's on WAOK every Sunday from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time, and Dwight McKee. And I want to know what your thoughts are. So before we do that, we've got to get some of these headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. If it's foggy outside of your window, you're not dreaming. It's going to be rainy and snowy in Chicago today. High of 43 degrees, though. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, 35 degrees and cloudy. Wow. Kevin Durant has gone to Phoenix. They say he might win a championship there. Wow. Everybody's leaving. It was supposed to be Harden and Durant and Irving. Wow, that was quick. And of course, Kyrie Irving is no longer with the Nets. Well, all right, everybody. The Timberwolves 143, the Jazz 118. The Bulls will be playing the Nets tonight. And in the NHL, well, Chicago had time off last night, but the Stars bested the Wild 4-1. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Kansas City, Philadelphia. Who you got, everybody? Or are you just trying to stick around for the show? I don't know. Everybody, call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-WCPT. I want to know what your thoughts are about child labor. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-WCPT. More than 16,000 people have been killed by this earthquake in Turkey and Syria. 16,000 people and counting, everybody. 5,000 people in one day were found yesterday. We are praying for the people of Turkey and Syria. The Biden administration will soon release a roadmap to transition out of the COVID-19 public health crisis. The public health emergency connected to COVID-19 will end May 11th, everybody. What will that mean? The goal of this roadmap is to help guide us out of the pandemic, is to try to lay out for the public in a clear way what the end of this declaration is going to mean for us in practical terms. It means they want you back in the office, everybody. No more work from home. All right, so there's that. Business runs this place. Russia has potentially lost up to half of its operational tank fleet since the start of the Ukraine war, or about 1,500 tanks, according to information collected by Oryx, a monitoring group that has been collecting this evidence of military equipment losses in Ukraine since the beginning of this war. A day before the suspected Chinese spy balloon entered U.S. airspace over Alaska, the Defense Intelligence Agency quietly sent an email report that said a foreign object was headed toward the United States. The report was shared through classified channels, but it wasn't flagged as an urgent warning, and top defense and intelligence officials who saw it weren't immediately alarmed by it, according to sources. Instead of treating it as an immediate threat, the U.S. moved to investigate the object, seeing it as an opportunity to observe and collect intelligence. So those are some of the headlines, everybody. You know what? I want you to save some money. I want you to make some money. You need to reach out to Team Hochberg if you are trying to sell a home or purchase a home. They can help you to save thousands of dollars. If you're selling your home, if you're purchasing a new home and you would like to save thousands of dollars, you need to call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com, 56david.com. They're offering everyone their Perks and Work program. It's a benefit that will go through the end of April, everybody, where you can save thousands of dollars the next time you buy or sell your home. This is how it works. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee up to 1%. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you to purchase your home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission as a closing cost credit. That is thousands of dollars, everybody. Team Hochberg will credit their loan origination fee as a closing cost, and their affiliated attorney will reduce their fee. Thousands of dollars, everybody. There's a couple that saved close to $9,000 using this Perks at Work program, and it could be you, everybody. It could be you. It should be you. So to learn how to save all of this money, I want you to call 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to 56david.com, 56david.com, and save that money. All right, everybody. We have been talking about this the expansion of child labor in Iowa. We're seeing it in Nebraska. What about these right to work states? Is that where this is going to spread, which are primarily in the South? This is a business-backed bill that will allow children as young as 14 years of age to work in slaughterhouses, in freezers, in mining, in logging, these are jobs that are prohibited from them now because they're so young. It will allow them to drive themselves to work at 14 and a half years of age. Yeah. So what do you think about that? And it would absolve these corporations of any responsibility if people get sick, if these children get sick, if they're injured, or if they're killed as a result of a company's negligence. I can't help but wonder what happened to the truant officer who, if you didn't show up for school, because at a certain age you're supposed to be in school, what happened? Where is that process? So I guess you're telling these kids they don't need to get an education. Are you serious right now? Call me at 773-763-9278. But first, my board op, Jewel, you have a story. We just heard, of course, we heard from attorney Aaron Connolly. We've got attorney Robert Patillo and Dwight McKee. But Erin was sharing the story of her family story. We all have these stories where our foreparents worked as children. Jewel, what happened in your family?
Thank you so much, Santita, for letting me come on this morning. So, yeah, I was really, it struck a nerve with me when Attorney Connolly was on earlier. So my grandfather, he was about 11 or 12 in the 1950s, and he was put into foster care when he was about 11 or 12 years old. His mother died, and he only had about a 5th grade education, and he left school, and he started farming. He started, plowing, driving a plow, driving a tractor, and doing hard labor. And then he joined the National Guard at 14 years old. Granted, I'm pretty sure he lied about his age. I think he had to be 16 at the time. But the fact that everybody just turned a blind eye back then. And, my grandpa came up to Illinois in the 60s. He was from Mississippi. This was in Mississippi back in the 50s. He came to Illinois in the 60s and started having a family. And I can say, my grandpa just passed a couple years ago, and he was the patriarch of our family, and it affected our entire family's outlook on work and education. And my entire family, a lot of them either weren't at their high school graduation, none of them got a college degree. and it had lasting impact. So I really just wanted to talk about that and say this is the kind of thing that if we put into law, it's going to have lasting effects, and we don't know how long it will be before we're able to reverse it.
Well, it robs you, as you're saying, of generational wealth, of multi-generational wealth. Yeah.
We had no generational wealth, and that was the main reason.
So when you blow up Tulsa, you understand why African Americans are like, are you serious? When you steal from indigenous people their land and the oil underneath it and the minerals underneath it, you wonder why the Rockefellers are so rich, the Rothschilds and everybody else. I'm like, really? Come on, y'all. So, everybody's supposed to be poor, but you? Something about this is not right. Let me go to David from Michigan. David, what's on your mind? Thank you, Jewel, for sharing that, because Jewel's a little shy.
I'm getting a clearer picture of this and listening to you talk about this issue. This is reminding me of, if you remember back in the 90s, the Aryan Nation and the Order and Paz Comitatus, who came out of the Iowa, Nebraska area, the neo-Nazi movement. This reminds me of something of that order, and I wonder how many of these legislators, especially these Republicans, are former members of these groups.
Now, why do you say that?
It reminds me of Nazi Germany. And and people think it can't happen here, baloney. It can happen.
But David, hold on. I'm feeling you, and I'm not stopping you, but I just want to say we don't have to go to Nazi Germany. It already happened here. It's called slavery. It happened here. We don't have to leave the United States to see the most heinous things that have happened to anyone. They happened here already. Nazi Germany studied the United States like South Africans studied the Jim Crow system, so they could figure out what to do with the undesirables, if you will. And even when they brought Nazi POWs to the United States, there's a wonderful book, Hitler's American Model. The Nazi POWs were shocked by the treatment of African Americans in the United States. They said, we don't even do this over there. You can't make this stuff up, David. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That's why telling these stories of enslavement, they're not Black stories. They're America stories. Talking about the indigenous people. No, this is the American story, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I get what you're saying, Steve. This is the second time around for this, is what it sounds like. This is coming to again. And this is going to be, it's not just going to be African Americans, and it's going to be this time enslaved and eliminated. Disabled people are going to be a part of this too.
That's right.
If you, and this makes me wonder about these Republicans, how many of them are were former members of Paz Comitatus and the Order in the Iowa, Nebraska area? And with their ideas of, not just racial superiority, but to do away with anybody that's disabled. This is what it is, this is a part of it. These Republicans, they don't fool me with their so-called right to what they believe in right. The baby went inside the womb. They could care less about it once it gets outside the womb.
Oh, my gosh.
Want to know the truth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, but David, Dwight, you and I know Robert want to grab this, and I'm sure Aaron, like a pit bull. What about this? What about that thinking? Because Dwight, you said you're not surprised that we're seeing these cases pop up in Nebraska, whether we're seeing them pop up in Iowa. What's going on, Dwight? What do you think about what David is saying?
I think he's right on point. I think that it's very conspiratorial, very suspect, and again, immoral. The tragedy is that most of these fathers are not wishing don't desire to reach their own children. They will use the children of the poor and the desperate to secure their lives. And again, part of the solution was to bring in other farm workers from either South America, many of them were used to doing this work. But then you brown the state. And of course they don't want that. They don't want a real integrated state. They would rather have a state going back 50 years, 100 years. And the reason that we put together high schools was to pull children out of the labor market. There was a reason for high schools. And to bring in other, the more mature ethnic groups to work, to work into those jobs. Now they want to reverse it because they want the best of both worlds. They want to keep the state white, but also take advantage of cheap
it's unbelievable, Robert Patillo. I mean, I just, and it's like we haven't learned anything. You hear Erin's, the story of her 4 parents. You hear Jewel, the story of their 4 parents. I mean, the story of our 4 parents. That's why I said, David, I hear you, but you don't have to go to Nazi Germany. Just stay right here in this soil. This is what we did. That's what slavery was. That's what indentured servitude is. I mean, that's what it is, Robert.
Well, absolutely, and I think it's important to understanding beyond the moral aspect of it, we have to look at the business aspect of it. Think about how much money these companies will save by effectively hiring children to do the work of grown adults. Think about what it does to the labor market in general to add tens of thousands of young children to the labor markets from poor families who need the additional income for their household. Well, now they're competing against adults for those jobs. Meaning that wages across the board could be impacted by the sudden influx of young children entering the labor market. So beyond what they're attempting to do and the harm that can come to these children, when they should be enjoying childhood, playing games and extracurricular activities, concentrating on schools, we are effectively taking young, poor children and taking their focus away from academics that can pay off in the long run and forcing them to work full-time jobs and part-time jobs in the interim. But also, we're depressing wages for workers in many of these fields across the board because now they'll have to compete against people who don't have children, don't have a 401k, don't have to pay rent and mortgage. It's hard for you as an adult potential employee to outcompete a child when it comes to low wages. So this is across the board attempt to break down the economic structure that currently exists. It's not as if they're going to take this money and reinvest it in the business, raise wages for employees. This money will just go directly into the owners' pockets and into buying back stock, etc. And they're willing to balance down the back of children, which is just reprehensible.
Well, it is reprehensible. Yes.
Yes, I was just thinking, as you're saying this, the second time around for this, a lot of these, these laws that they're trying to enact. Now, you have a governor in Iowa who sent back millions of dollars in stimulus money, saying that people did not need the stimulus money. And she was on, let me think, the program. It was, I believe it was National Public Radio talking about this, and people were trying to challenge her, and she had police there where they're threatening to arrest the people.
Erin, what do you make of this? I mean, and Jewel is sending you, Erin, and you, Jewel, much love. I had forgotten. You have you got a twin here, Jewel from New York, but this resonates with all of us, Erin, because I think as adults you start looking back at your 4 parents and you say, wow, they really did struggle to give me all these opportunities, and it's like we've learned nothing, Erin. I mean, I can't look. I think of your baby, your son, and I am like, wait, I could not put that boy, yes, behind a car in a few years. I just couldn't do it. I think I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown when he gets a license, but I've got a few years for that. But but no, really, I can't imagine.
Yeah, and it's hard to think about our ancestors in that space of children, right? And we look at the labor protections that we enjoy, right? That we think of as normal, that protect children from this exact scenario. Those weren't fully enacted until almost 1940, 1938. So, and it hasn't even been 100 years that those protections are in place, yet we're now trying to find ways to walk them back. And, Joel, thank you so much for sharing your family's personal story, because I think you honed in on something important that we need to consider. It's not, and I think our generation, I think that the generations that are here now are thinking more globally about ourselves, about where we fit in our family, and how what we do right now affects that next generation, that we are the ancestors of the future, right? And there's a responsibility to ensure that the systems and structures that are put in place, that are changed now, are ones that empower those next generations, not put them back, or there is still a traumatic system. I don't want to misspeak and say that there isn't, but we don't have to make it worse. We don't have to make it harder. We don't have to add generational trauma that the kids of these families are going to have to overcome later. We don't have to create that trajectory where you spoke about, that diminishes generational wealth, that takes opportunities away, right? Like, I think about my great-grandmother, and had she not had to leave school at 8th grade, what would she have been able to do differently in her life? How would that now have affected my life, right? Where does the struggle end for a child, right? When you're looking at your life, and one day you're playing in the street and playing ball, and the next you're responsible at a multi-million-dollar factory for not killing a child next to you. That's a really hard leap to make, and that in a child's brain, without the other risks, physically and mentally, is traumatic. It's stressful. It puts their brains in a fight or flight response that is very difficult to change once that is the normal, right? And it's unacceptable for any child in this country to have to anticipate that type of life, whether they're 14, whether they live in Iowa, whether they live in Illinois. This entire United States of America should be a safe, empowering place to grow up. And we cannot go backwards and go back to the 1930s.
To the beginning of America, to the beginnings, because corporations have run this place, and we've got to stop this. You need to have a check on the oligarchs and the oligarchy. This is crazy. Coming up, I'm going to ask Dr. Wolf about this before we talk about the State of the Union and healthcare and the economy. If you want to stay on real quick, we're going to ask about this back in just a minute on the Santita Jackson Show.
Hello?
Dwight?
You can't think there's no money in this. All you have to look at is NCAA and the amount of money they make from essentially child labor. They have these kids out here playing football, putting themselves at risk for no money. The NCAA makes billions and billions of dollars off the prerogative of these kids' lives.
Oh, wait a minute. Aggressively recruiting these black kids to play their income generating sports, because that's what it is. It's these black kids who are pushing that. They are aggressively recruiting them, but they don't aggressively recruit black children to go to their schools academically. None of that. Really? Come on, Dwight, Robert, Aaron, Jewel. I'm disgusted. I'm just disgusted. But I'm glad that it's out. Aaron, I'm glad it's out. Robert, Dwight, and and the fact that Dwight says NCAA is like, wait, that is child labor, because they come looking for these kids at 14 and 15 and 16 and 7 children, and they prey upon their parents. Oh, Think about that. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Y'all keep talking. Don't let me just run because I'm hot about this today, everybody. I'm hot. And I hope that you are too. But you know what, Aaron and Robert and Dwight, you know what's great about your sharing your story, Aaron, and Jules sharing their story, and us all sharing our stories. If we keep talking, we see that we were all brought here on the same proposition, Aaron. To build up the country for somebody else. But you know how it impacted you? It made you a fighter for the least of these. And that's a great thing.
It is. And it is. You're absolutely right.
You know,
You're absolutely right.
It might not have, you would be a different person. We'd all be different. But I think, knowing that my brother, Congressman Jackson, that they this hospital, which is still in existence, tried to put him out because my parents didn't have enough money and they knew he was dying. They knew he had a viral pneumonia that was eating his lung. And they said, there's nothing else we can do. And it's a religious hospital too. And my father, in desperation, called Dr. King, who he was working for. And their scholarship money run out because he was trying to, wrap up his studies at the University of Chicago. So, they had nothing. And Dr. King said, just hold them, or just have them hold them tonight. I'll be there in the morning. And my mother said, when this Nobel Prize winner walked through the door, she said it was a whole different ball game. But must it come down to that? It won't.
Right.
Really? I think that's why my father, I know that's why he visits people in the hospital all the time, because he knows that visit can be a game changer for people. My aunt had breast cancer, and Dwight knew my aunt Cynthia, who was my heart.
Miss Jackson, we
Yes.
have about
Dr. Wolf?
25 seconds, and we have Dr. Wolf on.
Fantastic. Love you, Dr. Wolf. That's right. It's okay. You don't have to say I love you back. I know. I feel the love. But they treated her very differently when they found out she was Reverend Jackson's sister-in-law, because she didn't go into the hospital with all of that. And that's awful.
Stand by.
We've been talking about child labor. I'm going to let everybody wrap that up. Dr. Wolf. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. It's like we're in church today. Jewel, my board op, weighed in and gave a testimony about their family. Attorney Erin Connolly gave a testimony about her family, and Dwight McKee, Attorney Robert Bertillo, and I, coming from people who were enslaved here and in this hemisphere. That's why Africans were brought over here. We all understand child labor because we're all descendants, each one of us, white, black, brown, yellow, and red. We are all descendants of child laborers. And the fact that Iowa is looking, that the business community is using the Republicans, and I would say business-backed Democrats, to enact a law that would put 14-year-old children in harm's way, that would have them driving themselves to work, that would absolve them of any responsibility if they were sick or sickened or injured on the job or killed. Shameful. Absolutely shameful. I want to get some, and of course, Dr. Wolf, you know what time it is. It's Thursday, bottom of the hour. We're talking with Dr. Max Wolf, brilliant economist, about the state of our union and healthcare and wages. This kind of dovetails into that, Dr. Wolf. What do you make of this Iowa bill? The expansion of child labor in America today. Because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at it in Iowa. We're seeing it in Nebraska. The Tesla Corporation is under some fire because in order to get the batteries for their cars, they have chosen to use child labor, because if you want a battery, you got to go to the Congo. That's where the minerals are. Talk to me. What, because that is part of the state of our union too, Dr. Wolf.
Sure. Well, it does cast a new light on the anti-abortion further, right? You don't want to lose any low-cost worker to reproductive choice. But outside of that potential spin on a traditional issue, look, I think we've seen, I would sort of break the debate slightly differently, without any, not by way of critique of anyone else, but I think we've had a massive amount of child labor all through our history and right up through the present. So this is more about legitimizing child labor and expanding it as opposed to introducing it. And we've seen a slow, in some cases, and quicker in others, erosion of these protections, whether it's you can put the kid to work in the family business, or you can put the kid to work at a younger age in, the summer, or, right, we've seen a kind of erosion of childhood. And the legal definition and attempts to protect childhood, while patchy and unfair across income and race and other things, it was never uniformly protected. But what we did protect about childhood is an artifice of a regulatory state and a big middle class, which insisted on, or tried to insist on, some protections for their children as a way to build a better future. I agree with the idea, so not being critical of the idea, but the institutions and social movements and coalitions that built those protections have been in decline in many cases, and with that decline has come a pretty significant diminution of those protections. And I think we see that here too. I think we also see a really kind of boiling labor market here, where we're not sure what the future is. There's a big kind of standoff between employers and employees. Do wages have to go up, say as much as inflation, or are there other ways to fill those jobs, especially now that we're not going to just send the jobs overseas as much, and we may even be bringing some jobs back onshore. Can we keep those costs low? And, people will begin to think about ways to do that, and as they do, increase labor force. It's going to be interesting, and obviously that's going to include kids. I do think there's a weird moment, too, where we have this weird obsession with talking about protecting kids coming out of a party that seems to be producing a large number of people who take an unholy special interest in kids and or want to see them executed for crimes or at work. So I also think we may be in a moment here where we're trying to figure out who gets to be a kid.
We're talking with Dr. Max Wolf. We're talking about the state of our union, healthcare, wages. This is like the perfect convergence of this. I'm going to have him give us his view of the state of the union and what all of this means. But before we pivot there, or what should I say, kind of move on over there, because we've got Attorney Robert Patillo, Dwight McKee, and of course we have your fan club, Attorney Aaron Connolly. Everybody, we're all here, and Jewel, the board op, who became a panelist today. I'm so happy, Jewel. There you go. You go, Jewel. Let me go to Robert, who wants to talk about Nebraska. Robert, how you doing?
Good. Good morning. I think it's definitely about lowering wages, as Robert Patillo said. In Nebraska, they just introduced a minimum wage law where if the child is, I think, 14 to 19, they would get paid a different minimum wage than other workers. And then the other thing is, long after slavery ended, if we look at the Northeast, whether it was fabric mills or other types of manufacturing, you had children in those mills.
Mm-hmm.
They were basically housed there. They had to buy their items at exorbitant rates from the company's store. And we saw a lot of children die in fires or be injured in machinery, and that's where a lot of these laws came from.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Republicans really want to go to a caste system where there's no upward mobility, no opportunity, almost like the men that were brought over to Qatar to build the stadiums for the World Cup. Mm-hmm. They're housed in horrible conditions, and really there's no way to move your station up in life if you work hard.
Well, Robert, I'm glad you bring that up, because this is where we have to understand that, injustice is colorless, it's odorless, it is what it is. In America, we've racialized it, and I think we can't run away from that. That having been said, I think part of the struggle of the civil rights movement is to have white people to understand that it means you too. Because the power structure has lied to white folks and made them feel special. And it's like, no. See, if it happens to me, it's going to happen to you. And in fact, It is happening to you. That's where we got the sweatshops and all of that. You're absolutely right, Robert. And just keep your eye on the Nebraskas, on the Iowas, and the right to work states, and all of these states, because I see this creeping in, Robert. Don't you? I mean, I just see it creeping in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for the time.
No, thank you. Thank you for listening. I mean, I feel it creeping in, and it's part of the culture. So what did you see with the State of the Union with respect to wages? Because we always talk about the middle class, Dr. Wolf, but no one talks about the working class, and we certainly, the poor don't even cross the lips of most of these elected officials. What did you hear on Tuesday night?
So look, I saw an attempt, which I thought was pretty well executed, to defend the sort of centrist Democratic Party's core promises and deliverables over the last 20 or 30 years. And I think we saw some interesting rhetoric kind of calling out, I don't know why it was controversial, but calling out announced plans and study groups in the Republican Party, vis-a-vis Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So that took a lot of the sort of public attention, and certainly 40% of the U.S. budget and 60 million people drawing income from these things and benefits. So this deserves a lot of attention. It doesn't deserve much. And we heard about employment, and the numbers are pretty good. I think there's a big debate about how well those numbers tell the story of people driving the economy, because they were designed for an irrecognizably different world of the 1960s, which is more than 60 years ago in most cases, and way more than 60 years away from people's everyday lives. But we didn't hear much about wages. Especially, I think what we should be talking about wages, it ends up being talked about in terms of inflation, right? Because if the price of stuff is going up, how much that hurts you and who it hurts has everything to do with whose wages keep up or go better than that, and which wages don't, right? And so if we gave a lot of aid, and we know that aid mostly went to the most affluent among us, and now we have a recession, partially because of the enhanced spending of wealthy people, and we balance that recession, less taking the feet out from poorer people, then we have a boom that helps the rich much more than everyone else, and a plug that hits the poor much more than everyone else. And then we figured out a way to become more unequal in the peaks and the troughs on our business cycles. And the problem is we've been doing that since the 1980s. So we're 40 years into the rich get richer and the poor get poorer in the upswing relatively, and the rich get less poor, the poor get more poor absolutely in the downswing. And the problem with that is it probably comes to look a little bit similar to a lot of people. And then maybe we also arrive at a point where our democracy, always fragile and always imperiled by anything that's growing old, becomes a casualty of the income inequality. It's very hard to ask men and women to stand shoulder to shoulder on one plane of their life if they're vastly unequal in their kind of other planes of their life, like economic. And then, I like saying this, and some people don't like it, but I guess I'll say it again. Every primary begins with a donor primary. There's always two primaries, right? There's a primary, and this is not to dissuade anyone from being active, which they should be, or voting, which is essential. But there's always two primaries, where the sort of faithful and the engaged, they show up and they vote for one or two candidates, or however many they're allowed to, in their party or in an open primary in either party. But then there's always the donor primary, which is often as or sometimes more important, which is the tiny class of people who can give significant donations with no tax deduction associated with them, who vote on whether or not candidates have the funding in our system to get their message out there. So, we're always auctioning off the right to represent us, and as auctions tend to do, they tend to favor people who can raise the paddle more times at higher numbers.
So we do have the donor primary. We're in the midst of it right now. Well, should I say it never stops, ever, 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 ever. And the Citizen United decision really, of course, just blew it up. I mean, money has driven politics. Would a publicly funded system change things? I mean, or help us to turn the corner on this? Because I think you could always have money that's under the table, but something needs to happen because the people are being missed here. I remember when we had the really the economic system collapsed in 2008. Our senior senator from the great state of Illinois, Dick Durbin, said, look, he sounded exhausted. He said, look, let's just be honest. Bankers run this place. When are people going to have their run of the place, their say? Dr. Wolf.
Look, I feel like when we talk about the public campaign financing, like you are, and it's a good point and long overdue to discuss. I feel the same way I feel when we talk about public transportation or public health care. Seems to work well for everyone else, right? So when something works really well for everyone else for a really, really long time, and what we're doing isn't working, gosh darn it, maybe I spent too many years with statistics, but the seems like it's working well. Because the rest of the world's democracies largely do this, and it works. And the other thing that you brought up, and I think you know because you're more politically engaged and have more politics in the House than probably most anyone who would be out there listening to you, or even folks like me who Roberts and the folks patient enough to listen to your guest. The other issue here, which I think may be a really big one, is most people have really short campaigns, and they vote on issues and parties, not on people. So we have presidential campaigns that are now multi-billion dollars that run for 18, 20, 25 months. And the rest of the world seems to be able to do this with public funds in 90 days. Right? So it's not all scandal and personality story. It's like, hey, this party stands for these things. This woman or this man wants to be the standard bearer for those ideas on this party. Do you align with them? Do you not? Yeah.
So
we don't need to know who he hooked up with in high school and whether his wife thinks he's a great kisser and can dance or he looks barbecue and all this sort of stuff that not sure helps us pick the best leaders anyways.
I mean, because none of that really matters. I mean, the fact is we have Erin Connolly on with us. She's diabetic. So I know, Erin, you were relieved when you heard the president say we got to cap the price of insulin. People have gone back to using animal grade insulin. People are rationing their insulin today, Erin, and they cannot, and they're dying. Healthcare your healthcare costs, even with the best of insurance, it's driving bankruptcies in America. That's not good news. I mean, it's not good news. Child labor laws, the expansion of them to drive up corporate profits, which arguably are driving inflation, that's not good news. And in fact, it is hurting the country, Dr. Wolf. It's hurting us. It's destroying the country. It destroys hopes, people's ambitions, their dreams. It's harmful. It's harmful.
It's really clearly that small businesses don't have the weight to get lobbyists and get decisions on their favor or in their favor with the same frequency or intensity of large companies do, and that's not great for innovation and the emergence of new people into business and new businesses. And then the other thing which I think is unfortunate that's comes along with all this stuff is, part of the reason I always make, or I would be in favor of more of a national health care approach, is that people have to risk their life if they leave a job that gives them health care. You're asking people to risk their own lives, the lives of dependents, in order to try to start a business, in order to try to move to a better job. And it just seems like not a good idea on so many and so profound set of levels to tell people with a really serious condition or who are caring for or insuring someone with a really serious condition that, too bad, you can't be an entrepreneur. Too bad, you can't advocate aggressively for yourself at work. Too bad, you can't move to the better job because your life or the life of someone dependent upon you is dependent upon that health insurance. It's a pretty serious reduction in the flexibility and self-determination. I would argue the economic freedom of these people to make these decisions. And so a lot of people have significant conditions. I think people don't always realize that about 40 to 45% of adult Americans have at least one serious chronic health condition. A lot of people.
Mm-hmm. A lot. And you keep on living. you're a walking chronic health condition. I mean, so what should happen next? I mean, because big pharma, you might give lip service to calling them out, but nothing really happens to them. I mean, they're jacking up the prices for the treatment of COVID-19 by like 4,000% after American taxpayers paid them to develop the vaccines. I'm like, all you had to do was develop it, send it to R&D, research and development in your corporation, and then you made all the money. We gave them the money. This is, Dr. Wolf, it's just unfair. What did Elizabeth Warren say? The game is rigged. And it's rigged against all of us.
Obviously, there are people who benefit from each of these things. Benefits don't seem to outweigh the costs on a lot of these things. So I think that's a place to start the conversation. And then look, the idea is going to come back to some of these big things, these big like, what is the contract between the citizen of the United States and the government of the United States? What are your rights and your liberties and freedoms, right? And they're not, however nice it sounds, they're not just the absence of hearing it law against you, although that's important. Right? They're not just not being allowed to be put in debtor's prison or whatever they're working on, being allowed to have a firearm or being allowed to operate a motor vehicle if you're of age. It's also about what do you get, right? In a very competitive world where other governments are able to provide people with public education that really does prepare them for the challenges and the jobs of tomorrow, whether they're public transit, national health care, and protections at the workplace, which we've historically been able to do. In some cases, we're in the U.S. innovators, global innovators space. We kind of have to decide if we're abandoning that for a hard, harsh free market reality or not. And if we are, I guess we should also be honest that markets are pretty dynamic and valuable in many things. They also have limitations. They also don't do equity. Not that they don't do it right, they just don't do it at all. Right? And I think the best line about markets from a fellow economist of mine is markets are a lot like fire. They're a brutal master and a powerful servant. And if you have money, the market is your servant. And if you don't, the market is your master.
Is that just in the DNA of the country? I mean, it just seems like that is just America's business is business. I mean, this was originally an expedition for European royalty. They were looking for more treasure, more land, more. I mean, it seems like that's where we started, but that's not where we need to end up, Dr. Wolf. I mean, just to make it plain.
If you read the wonderful textbooks in the state of Florida, I don't know today that there. It sounds like, I don't know, I think you should just change the textbooks.
Oh my goodness. You just want to change the textbooks? Oh, you're getting into critical race theory.
You want to tell the story, right? You want to tell the story about a bunch of guys got in the wrong boat in Africa and they ended up working here and they were good to do and bad things? Or do you want to tell the story, right? And then we're trying to figure that out right now. I don't think we have a super above board honest debate all the time, but I think we're trying to figure out, are we going to come to terms with our history or are we going to deny it? And everything is at stake in that decision. So I am making a joke, which is probably not funny and possibly in poor taste, but I don't know what else to do. The point is, I think we are trying to figure this out right now. I think this debate about what should be in the textbook, I think it's really edit out the stuff that makes us feel funny, or we find a way to talk about it until we feel less funny about it like that.
So, Robert, in about a minute, what do you think about that?
Me personally?
Oh, I thought Robert was still there. Dwight McKee, you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, Robert. Okay, talk to me.
Well, I think that what we have to start doing is start re-injecting humanity into our public policy. I think that what we're currently seeing is a political class that is so disconnected from the voters and that is so tied in to the needs of special interests, to the lobbyists, to these employee organizations. They've completely forgotten that they still serve people. It's not just numbers on a fact sheet. It's more so thinking about what this does to children and society. So we got a lot of work to do. It's going to depend on us to really put these hold people's feet to the fire.
In about 30 seconds, what say you, Attorney Erin Connolly?
She just dropped.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Dwight McKee, about 30 seconds for you.
Well, this whole system of slavery was built on child labor. It's that's why they call it kidnapping, because they literally nab kids from out of Africa and put them to work for years and years and years and years. That's how you could fit 300 young people in a boat, because they were children. It's not a unique phenomenon in America to use the children as slave labor. And even the young white kids became as indentured servants. It's just amazing that in the 23rd century, it was going backwards rather than forward. And it's sad. They're trying to go right back to where we spent the last 20 years getting away from.
Wow. Dr. Wolf, the last minute belongs to you. You brought it up. Oh, hold on. Dr. Wolf?
Yeah, I think we're at a crossroads moment. I think in weird ways that don't make sense, that maybe have to be decoded sometimes, we're trying to figure out whether we're going to finally deal with some of those original stains on this experiment and move forward in the full life recognition of those, or if we're going to double down on some past era, then maybe we had a better excuse than we have now to not know what we come from and who we come from. Everything about modern medicine and building an organization says, if you don't start with an honest appraisal of who you got and where you've been, getting anywhere interesting is pretty darn hard to do.
Everybody, Dr. Max Wolf, Attorney Robert Bacillo, Attorney Erin Connolly, and Dwight McKee, Dr. Shanita Knighton, oh boy, and Pastor Darius Brooks, and Jewel today, the board op. Hey, what a joy it is to have the gang all here. Everybody, let's move toward justice. Let's move toward making the beloved community. We can do it, and we can do it together. That's the only way it's going to happen. I love you, everybody. God bless. Have a great one. Well, I know Max had a hard stop at the top of the hour. Dwight, Robert I'm sending you much love. Is there anything else you want to say before you have to go? I sounded like a carnival barker.
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
I'm talking to you. Yeah, because I know you got to go.
Yeah, I have about 5 more minutes. I don't want to cut off other people who might be also in the queue.
Well, no, your thoughts.
To me, I think the employment discussions have become a way to talk about wages without talking about wages and announce success where there hasn't been much. So it is very good that there are more job openings out there and that people are finding work. It is very problematic that they come and go from these jobs. They're very alienated from them because the benefits are sort of weak and getting watery, and the path forward is also not really there for internal promotion. And also just that getting a full-time job isn't much of a path out of poverty. Right? So I think while it's great to see the good job numbers, and certainly don't want to see weakening job numbers, which I assume we will see in the not just the future as well. So we're being prepared for that. I just think the wages aren't there. And I think the story of the wages not being there is a harder story to tell. It makes people uncomfortable. And it's a big part of what's going on in the labor market, which is if you can't get ahead, if you don't have much benefits, if you don't know how good they are or how long they'll last, if you do have the benefits, and if your job doesn't fundamentally pay you enough to get within the line of sight to some kind of middle class, rise, walk up the steps, very hard to call it a job in the traditional sense of access to the American middle class, which is what people tend to mean by that here anyway.
Well, as my father often says, we had full employment in slavery. So there is that. So it's not just having the jobs or having full employment. It is about fair pay. It's about a prosperity wage, everybody. It's about really being honest and understanding how we got here. I love you, Dr. Wolf. I know you're running, and I thank you for being with us today and helping us to understand what we are looking at economically. Because
I was learning from your conduit. It's always an exciting part of my week. So thanks for listening to me out there, and thanks for teaching me something for the rest of the panel.
oh, we just adore you. Oh, Dwight and Robert, he's just a gem. But you all are gems, really. Is there anything that was left unsaid in your way of thinking, Robert Patillo? Robert, you still there? Well, let me ask you, Dwight. Is there anything that was left unsaid? Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
They both just dropped.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I love you all. Jewel, is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
I
Seriously.
would just like to say,
We're here.
sorry. I would just like to say that, thank you for letting me on. And I think that conversation, that deeper dive into generational trauma and generational wealth really is so, so important. And it affects people deeper and for a longer period of time than I think most people realize, and unless you've been through it, my family, for generations has been poor, and also we're white. My whole family's white, and comes from southern Mississippi. So I think that's also another point is how is this going to affect, people of color, Black and brown people and immigrants, people that don't understand, our laws when they come here, that sort of thing. So, but I love the conversation today, and I'm very honored that I got to be part of it.
Well, I told you always have a door. You know that. And you always have a seat at the table. All you have to do is sit down and take it. How about that? You there? My Jewel? Hello?
Yes, I'm still here. Sorry, somebody.
No. I know you've got a lot going on.
Someone came in and asked me a question.
No worries. But you always have a seat at the table. You know that.
Oh yes. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, and I'm glad I do. I'm glad I have the opportunity and the platform to speak of my voice. Especially as a young person, a young 20-something. I'm honored that I'm able to shed light on things like this and the topics that we talk about every morning.
Oh, well, you matter. So, I mean, you know how I feel. I want you to say something. How about that? You know that. you know better. You know how I am. I'm like, no, I want you to say something. You're like, okay, when I feel, and I'm glad that you had something to say. But remember, I'm reading this thing upside down. Okay.
Okay. Well, next time I'll just come on with no warning then.
Just help me. I'm like,
Jackson said I'm allowed to speak anytime I want.
yes. I'm like, I can't read this thing upside down. I'm like, we have these callers, and it's very interesting. I think that we have got to have more of these conversations because our callers were white and this struck a nerve, and it should strike a nerve because this is an American dilemma. It is.
Absolutely. Anybody who is living in a capitalistic society where there's such a huge class divide, this should affect them. This should hit a nerve. Absolutely.
It should. And and I think that the more we talk, the more we see how much we all have in common and where we need to go, because that really is the key. It really, really is the key. And so I'm just glad that you came aboard this morning, Jewel. You are a gem. I mean it.
I'm happy happy to be here. And shout out to my twin, the other Jewel from New York. Because I know she's probably still on there.
Yeah, you know, look, Jewel, you heard her. Come on now, Jewel. Jewel, the gym said hello to you. And Jewel said, hello, all caps.
I love that. I had to do a shout out. I had to. It's not often you find someone with the same name when you have that kind of name.
She said, yes, I'm here. Applause, 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 applause. Love, 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 love. Thumb up.
Wonderful.
So,
glad you're here.
Jewel, meet Jewel. Both of you are gems. Appreciate you. She appreciates you. So, you know, they say they love you back. Jewel in New York. Well, wait a minute. You say you speak to Jewel. I don't need to speak for you, Jewel. Go on. Are you talking to someone right now? She could. Okay. Jewel? Jewel, no,
Yeah,
I was speaking to Jewel in New York. No, I was waving to Jewel in New York. But Jewel, you can say something to Jewel in New York.
Well, my parting message for everyone is I hope everybody, all the morning stars, have a lovely, wonderful rest of their day and a wonderful weekend. And gear up for Valentine's Day. You know, even if you don't have somebody to share that with, you should love yourself on Valentine's Day. You know, make yourself a priority. And yeah, so you know, love and blessings to everybody, all the morning stars, and have a great day, everybody.
Oh, bless you. And Daryl is sending you the two Jewels love. Everybody loves the fact that your name is Jewel and Jewel. So I mean, everybody's just happy. Jewel's happy. You're happy. Goodness gracious, I love it. And so everybody's sending you much love this morning. Today, my little gem, Jewel, and my sister Jim, because Jewel has to be our baby. You know, they are like young enough to be our child. So that's how I have to bring Jewel on. You know, they are baby, but a tremendous board operator, and has a big future in this media space. And I'm very excited about that. So I'm sending you much love. Jewel, my gem, and Jewel, my sister, sending you both of you are gems and both of you are my loves. I always love working with Jewel, my board op, because they get on in the morning and they are vroom, ready to go, and highly skilled and just a really, really sweet human being. And I thank God for you, Jewel. I hope you know that. So God bless you. And God bless you, Jewel. And God bless all of my morning stars. Love you. And Jewel, up in New York, you know, we're going to be there in March. So, you know, shout out to you, sending you much love. And sending everybody much love. And let's be mindful of what's happening to the children. Going back to child labor, shouldn't do that. That's a step backwards. And it will hurt all of us. It will hurt all of us. No, that should not happen to any of our children. And if that's why they're opening up the borders so they can do this to brown people and to black people from Haiti, et cetera, then if they do it to white Europeans, it's wrong. I don't care who it happens to. You shouldn't mistreat people. How about that? Try that one on for size, everybody. Try being kind. Have you thought about that? Try being fair. Have you thought about that? Love you, everybody. Remember, mean-spiritedness, evil, has no color. It is odorless. It has no taste. Well, it has a bitter taste. But trust and believe. Goodness comes in every color, in every iteration, and evil does too. Now understand that. I love you, everybody. Cannot wait to be with you tomorrow. God bless you. I love you, love you, love you, love you. Spread the love. Spread the love. Spread the love. Be loving to someone today and let that someone first be you. I love you, everybody. God bless you. See you tomorrow. And Rocano will be with us tomorrow. Hey, got a call from Ro. Yay. It's going to be great. Love you.